Hi everyone, it's me, Tim. Okay, let's talk about the Fallout TV show because apparently my game development stories are not interesting to you people. So, let me talk about it. I'm going to have a lot of context for this. I got invited to the Hollywood premiere, which was on April 9th. Got invited by Todd Howard. He emailed me, asked if I wanted to go. This was on March 26th. I said totally yes. Um, James Altman hooked me up with the agency that was doing the tickets. He works at he either works at ZeniMax or Bethesda. He's the son of Linda Carter. Uh, really nice. Met him at the after party. Got set up for all that, and then I jumped on to online so I could grab a flight and grab a hotel. Basically, get prepared to go down. Went down the morning of April 9th. To make things easy on myself, I just got a room at the Roosevelt, which is right across the street from the Chinese Theater. It's called the TCL Chinese Theater. It used to be called Mann's Chinese Theater and Grauman's Chinese Theater. Just got a room across the street. That just made it easy. I could just, at the time the premiere started, I could just walk across the street. When I got to the hotel, though, there was a robotic vacuum cleaner going up and down the hallway outside my room. It was kind of creepy because I had to go around it to get to my room, and it beeped at me, a little uppity. And then I heard it go by my room. Then I heard it go by my room again. Then I heard it go by my room again. This creeped me out. If you get really close, it had a name tag. It said, "Hi, my name is Oscar." We're going to be talking about Oscar later. I threw my bags in the room and I decided I got to go look to see what's going on. So I walked down Hollywood Boulevard, which is where the hotel is, where the theater is. This is where the Hollywood Walk of Fame is. I snapped some shots of things. Found Linda Carter. I got to the front of the Chinese Theater. It was all blocked off, but I got a picture of me in front of the sign. They also were setting up a tent on Hollywood Boulevard. Hollywood Boulevard for that entire block was shut down. I don't know what you have to do to shut down Hollywood Boulevard. I'm sure it happens a lot, but that was kind of impressive. I was going to go to In-N-Out because you can't be in California without going to In-N-Out. But my hotel was equidistant between In-N-Out and Popeyes, and I'm a Southern boy. So I went to Popeyes. I'm glad I did, which you'll see later. There's a lot of stuff coming up later. Went back. It was like 25 degrees hotter in LA than it had been in Seattle when I left. So super hot. I went back to the hotel, cooled down, got all gussied up for the premiere. Unfortunately, I had planned to wear some Nuka Quantum cufflinks that I had, and they broke. I was the first time I was going to wear them, and one of them popped off and was glued, and I couldn't get it back on. I didn't have any glue. So I did an executive decision, and I switched my watch to be a Pip Boy. Nobody noticed, but I knew it was there. And then across the street to theater. I picked up my ticket at Will Call. My ticket included the after party, so even though it was around 6 o'clock, they said it was going to start at 6:30. Didn't start till 7:30. Hollywood. Went to the theater, went inside. The lobby was all decorated and was really cool. There was the theater itself was really nice. Inside, I chatted with Emil Paglario. I met Todd Howard's brother. I was seated on one side next to a few of Bethesda's lawyers, and I said, "I'm not taking pictures." It's funny. We actually talked about it. Was just funny. They knew who I was, and we talked, and it was fun. But they had Fallout themed sodas and popcorn. The person sitting next to me, Brian Fargo, he and I talked for the entire time. I was there. I was in there for over an hour before the premiere started. And let me tell you a few things. First of all, he remembers a lot of the things differently of what happened. But he told me that a lot of you are like harassing him, and he gets a lot of like hate online. And I'm like, I've told people to stop that. Cut it out. He's not a villain. I'm not a hero. I'm not a villain either. He's not a villain. People remember things differently. Things happen differently. Things affected people differently. In fact, I have an interesting, I'm going to do a little side story because it's something, if you watched my chats with Leonard on here, you'll see that he and I don't always remember things. Well, an interesting thing happened at Obsidian, and he pointed out to me later how my notes would be wrong and right. And I'll tell you this, now change all the names because that's not what's important. Someone came by my office one day at Obsidian, and it was the one I shared with Leonard, so we were both there. And let's say his name was Bob. And Bob leaned in and he goes, "Oh my God, do you remember the big fight that Jerry and Mike got into a couple weeks ago? Well, Jerry just quit." And Bob left. And I take notes, and I'd written down, Jerry and Mike had a big argument 2 weeks ago. Jerry quit today. I mentioned it to Leonard at some point. And he said, "Well, Bob didn't actually say that Jerry quit because of that argument with Mike. Here are two pieces of facts. You're the one linking them together." And I was like, huh. So I became really curious because it turns out Bob told a lot of people that exact thing. Jerry and Mike had an argument. Jerry quit a few weeks later. Turns out, because I asked Jerry, he didn't quit because of the argument with Mike. The argument of Mike sounded louder and bigger than it was, but it was no big deal. He quit for other reasons. And Bob, it turns out, diabolically, had a very good reason for wanting people to think Jerry quit because of the argument with Mike. And the way he phrased it was so clever that the way I actually took it in my notes, if I looked at my notes 10 years later, there'd be no doubt in my mind that Jerry had quit because of the argument with Mike, because of the way I wrote my notes, even though my notes themselves don't say that's why Jerry quit. So Leonard and I have talked about this a lot. It's part of what I talked about with Brian at the theater, is that we remember things differently. Neither of us are wrong, necessarily. One of the things he really hates is he said he didn't lower my bonus. I said, but I received a lowered bonus. He said, the thing I signed off on had you with a higher bonus. And I'm like, I have financial records. We actually talked about trying to get the financial records from Interplay to figure out what was going on. Maybe mine got taxed. Maybe someone else lowered it. But I was like, but I remember talking to you. And he's like, I have no memory of talking to you. So anyway, look, if we can get along, you guys can get along. So cut out all the online stuff. You guys can be really destructive, which is odd that you do it to people who are trying to make things. And it's hard enough to make things without people constantly trying to tear it down. But it's way easier to tear down than build up. So anyway, let's talk about the show. The show started at 7:30. And I stopped talking with everybody, and I sat in my chair. I was often like this. I was literally on the edge of my seat. It was a big screen. It was cool. I'll say right now, I liked the show. I saw the first 2 episodes. They showed us the first 2 back to back. I liked it. I thought visually it was really good. I thought that the humor was very good. The vibe, they hit the vibe. Also, extremely well acted. I was impressed. I was like, this is really good. You kind of just fall into it. I saw scenes that meant something to me in particular. And in fact, I asked later about, I'll just tell you, spoiler warning. There's a scene where a knight, a Brotherhood of Steel knight gets attacked in his power armor by a Yao Guai. And he's getting tossed around and chewed on, and he's trying to run away, and he's like, help, help. And, the Squire Maximus, is like, whoa, what's happening? Everybody's been in that situation where combat's happening, and you're like, oh God, what's going on? And later on, you see the Squire in the knight's armor. Everybody's taken someone's armor who's passed away. You have to see the scene. And then another one was, there was a scene completely done for fun, and I liked it. By the way, I thought the humor, it wasn't as funny in the first episode, and it was more funny in the second, and I think that was the right way to do it. Be serious, and then introduce the dark humor. But there was a scene where Lucy's looking for directions, and there's this guy, and he's walking like this. And I swear he was walking just like the loser villagers did in the first game. They were called villagers, but the internal name for that animation was called the loser. I asked later, I got to talk to one of the showrunners, Graham Wagner, and I asked him if that's where he came from. And he said he didn't know. And the reason was a lot of people you see in the show were Fallout fans, and there was some improv. And he said, if you remember correctly, that actor wanted to stand like that. And he might have been pulling that from Fallout 1. So in other words, that might have been an homage to Fallout 1, and we don't even know. So I hope it was. I've decided it was. In my head, I've decided it was. But just so you know, I'm going to have to rewatch the show because there were several times where, because it was the big screen for me, I was sitting there watching, looking at the set, and the set was so detailed. There were things that looked so good, the props. When at one point Lucy walked into a shop in Philly, and I was just looking at all the props, I would realize after a few minutes went by that I had not followed the dialogue at all. Nothing. I'm like, what are they talking about? Because I was so engrossed in it visually. So I'm gonna have to rewatch. So after the two episodes went by, and those 2 hours went by like this for me. We went to the after party. You've probably seen the picture when Brian and I came out. We saw Todd and Emil. I think we had gone in and then come right back out, but they took a picture out in front of the theater. It was fun to talk to those guys. They're really nice, and also some of you guys, some of your stuff you say online, it's so off. So I kind of wish. Part of me wishes you guys could go to things like this and meet the people and not just play a game and then go off on the people. But anyway, they're super nice. We chatted. They're friendly. It was fun. You know, we were all talking about different things we liked about the show. And then we went into the after party, which was in that big tent. They had carpeted the inside. So it's weird because you're inside this carpeted tent and you realize I'm standing on Hollywood Boulevard. Really big, bar in the middle, bars on the side, food everywhere. I saw Kyle MacLachlan, who plays Lucy's dad. I didn't get to say hi to him. It was hard to get close. But there were so many people around, and I ended up talking with Jonathan Nolan, the director, for quite a while. He asked me what I thought. Making the first one, he said, "What did you think?" And I told him I loved it. You know, I told him we talked a lot about the visuals because I said there are things I paid attention to, like in the vault, just like what a vent looked like. You know what the wall paneling and the lights looked like, and I'm like, it was really cool. I also talked for a while with actor Aaron Moten, who played Maximus. I also told him he was good. It was fun to talk to him, and he was standing with his brother and sister-in-law, and they were also staying at the Roosevelt. So we were talking about that, and I said, "Hey, do you see this robot running around?" And they did. And she said, "Did you know its name was Oscar?" And I said, "Yeah, I saw its name on it." And I said, "You must be on the 5th floor." And they're like, No, we're on the 6th. And I'm like, "I'm on the 5th." That means Oscar knew how to use the elevator. And she said the same thing. They were both creeped out by this robot. And she said she heard it go by several times their room too. And at that point, I said, "I think we just have to agree that we're going to be killed tonight back in our rooms by Oscar." By the way, that's why I'm not allowed at most Hollywood parties. I say things like that. But they were funny. They thought that was funny. His brother is a data analyst. And we were talking about what it was like to be very introverted people at a Hollywood party. And it was fun. And I wonder what Aaron thought about, I talked to him and then I was talking to his brother and his wife for a while. But it was fun. It was nice that people were there with their family. I was like, "Hey, I got 2 brothers. I wish one of my brother could be here." It was fun. Later on, I talked with Todd and his brother, and they were arguing over which one of them had actually owned Fallout because they had bought the original. Both of them said they had bought it and the other had borrowed it. And I thought that was funny because that's so brother-like. The whole time I was at the after party from 9:30 to 11:30, which, if you know me, 3 hours of party is a long time for me. Everybody kept saying, "Hey, have you talked to Graham Wagner? Have you talked to Graham Wagner? Graham really wants to talk to you." He was showrunner, writer. It took a long time for us to find because we were really packed in. It was hard to walk around. Finally got to talk to him. Told him I loved it. Talked about what I thought of like dialogue and humor and all that and stuff that I thought they nailed. And it was really fun to talk to him because you could tell he really cared about not just a particular Fallout. I think if you watch the show, you're going to say it's probably based mostly on Fallout 4, but there are elements from all the Fallouts. And he has played all the Fallouts. And from the beginning, he played them in order. He was a big Fallout fan. So it was really cool to talk to him. I did manage to get over to where one of the food tables were, and like this is what the menu was. I grabbed, however, an in-and Fallout burger, so I got my In-N-Out, which meant the next day I ended up going to the Habit. So I basically got all my greasy, carb-laden SoCal memory foods in on my trip. Anyway, I had to stumble out of that party before it ended. I left at 11:30. I don't know when it ended. I was exhausted. That was I was at the event for 6 hours, and I had gotten up at 3 to fly down because my flight was at 7 a.m. Boarded it at like 6:15. So I was exhausted, but I loved it. It was very Hollywood. It was very fun and posh. We were all dressed all nice, which is nice going to parties sometimes where everyone's dressed all nice. Some people that were dressed way more than me, I was kind of like, oh, maybe I should have bought a nicer suit. But I'm thinking, you know what? I'm a game dev. And as a game dev, I thought I represented. So anyway, had a good time. Loved seeing people. Loved the show. I think you will too, but don't take my word for it. Watch it. It's already, dropped on Amazon. In fact, it was already available to stream before I even got home. So you guys may have seen all of it. I've still only seen the first 2 episodes because I came back to a channel where it seemed like every other comment was asking me, hey, what do you think of the Fallout TV show? So here you go. Anyway, hope you like that.